Hey everybody, you're on the Great Adventure Channel with Chowder and Ben. Wanted to create this video to show you what I packed for my through hike of the Lone Star Hiking Trail. If you've seen the video, you saw that I didn't quite make it. Had an issue with my water filter, but I wanted to show you what I packed, what I didn't use at all, what I won't bring to the next hike, and that kind of thing. So that's my plan with these hikes, is to see how I can better hone in what I need for my trip. So first off, I want to show you that I used to have the Osprey Exos 58 that I used to use, but I went from the Atmos 65 to the 58. Still think this is too much space, so I went down to the Hyperlight 2400 liter or 2400, and it's about the right size. When I have a full 3 to 4 days of food in there, it gets a little tight, but it works out for me. So this is the pack that I brought and everything that I got in there. So I'll start with this outside pocket here. So basically, I've just got my 2 camp shoes. These are just super light shoes that I got for Walmart, probably about 10 bucks, but I think they only weigh maybe a few ounces. I've got a list here, but I don't want to dig around with it. I've got my water filter here with the backwash syringe and knock bag to use to fill up to go through the filter. But for some reason, I think it was the fact that I left the filter in my garage over the summer, and the heat here in Texas is not very pleasant for these filters, so it just would not backflush. It would not go through. So that's when I kind of realized that it was probably time to call the hike. I did have some chlorine tablets or some sanitation tablets, but the water out there is pretty murky, and I just didn't want to drink a bunch of muddy water, even though it was going to be sanitized with those pills. So that's what I got there. Also in the back here, I always bring a rain jacket. This is just the Frog Togs. I think it's the super ultralight one that's super thin. It could get caught on sticks and tear, but it's just super light, pretty cheap, and I just always bring it with me just in case. You never know when you're gonna need it. And then I've got my tarp here. This is my War Bonnet Superfly tarp with doors. So I added some shock cords and some guy outlines for use for this, and I've also got it in a it's like a mesh kind of sleeve, so it's easy to pack down and lines don't get crossed or kind of knotted up, that kind of thing. So I put it back in the stuff sack also for easier I do have a Kamak Mantis all-in-one hammock that I use, but I took the tarp out because I wanted to use this to test it out. The other tarp is a little small, a little lighter, doesn't have doors, but also in the Sam Houston National Forest north of Houston, you never know when you're going to get rain, and it can dump pretty hard there, so I wanted a little sturdier, bigger tarp for protection. So that's why I went with this and dropped the Kamak tarp. But other trips where I'm not so concerned about rain and more worried about getting pack weight down, then I'll bring that other tarp. It cuts that weight in half. I think this is about 23 ounces, and the Kamak Mantis tarp is about 11 ounces, so about cuts it in half. And that's all I have on that. I keep a bandana tied to my bag, just as like a dirty towel if I need to clean off stakes or wipe down my filter that's got dirty water on it. So it's fine that it just hangs off and I can keep it here. I'm not worried about contamination, that kind of thing, because I'm just always using this to wipe off dirt and unsanitized water, that kind of thing. I also brought along a couple of Smart Water bottles. They're light. They hook to the Sawyer Squeeze when it works. And I had another one that was, I had 2 of these 1.8, or two of these 1 liter bottles. Threw one of them away. So one of my luxury items that I have is this Helinox Chair Zero. I do like this chair. I don't know if I'm going to bring it on the really long hikes, just because it tends to sink in the mud and the dirt a little bit when I'm sitting down, so I had to put some logs underneath it to kind of give it some support in the middle so it wouldn't sink. I like it because my legs will get really tired and sore, and it's hard for me to, sit down on the ground cross-legged style or get up from that, and this is usually a little better. But if it's sinking to the ground, then it kind of defeats the purpose, and I can't use it. So now we'll get down into, actually, let's flip it around and show you what I got hooked on the front here. So I got a couple of pockets here that I use. This one, I'll store a pen that I always use to hang my food bag at night and my smellables. I just have it in case I need to write something, leave a note somewhere for somebody. And it's just a little sturdier than a stick. So I always keep one of these, put my pocket knife in there, and I usually have a lighter in here too, just a small little Bic lighter, and I'll have a thing of hand sanitizer in there as well. And then this pocket on the front here, it's got a little bungee elastic cord that I can throw my phone in, put it in there real quick, and zip it up so it doesn't fall out. That's super accessible to use. This front pocket here is what I'll keep some other camera gear. I've got this little cheap tripod and phone attachment that I use for this trip. The tripod came from just a cheap GoPro kit that I had, and I've had this phone attachment forever, but I realized it's pretty cheap and I needed to get something better, so I did buy a new tripod and phone attachment that I'm using right now that I'll show at the end of the video. But as you can see, when you put this on and you screw it on too tight, this top part pops off real easy. So I'll probably get rid of the phone attachment, and then I will keep the tripod for my GoPro when I use that, but otherwise I'm going to stick with and try out the tripod and phone attachment I have right now. Going forward, in here too, I will keep, usually like my wallet and keys. It's kind of the pocket that my important stuff's in that I'm always worried about keeping zipped and don't have to reach in there often for snacks and food. This pocket I'll use for snacks and food. Right now I've got my Anchor Bluetooth earbuds on here that I'll use to listen to my podcasts and stuff when I'm going. I've got about 50 feet of paracord here. That's what I use in a carabiner. That's what I use to hang my food bag with when I'm out on the trail. I've got my clean pack towel here that's super absorbent and just shoves down, so I keep it there to kind of try to keep it out of the way if I need something clean and accessible. So if I need to clean dishes, which I don't usually that often, just whatever reason I need a clean towel, I keep it right there. I also have this whistle thermometer. It's kind of an excess need thing. I don't really need it. It's got a compass on one side. There's I bring 3 whistles on me, which is excessive, I know. But I just like when it's cold to be able to check the temperature on the thermometer. I could probably get rid of that to cut a little bit of weight. But let's get in the bag now. So pop the top, unhook the sides, and then open it up. And I've got a Now Flume packed bag in here. I know this bag is supposed to be essentially waterproof, but just an extra precaution. I keep this plastic and a Now Flume bag in here. But first off, we'll pull out, I've got my toilet paper and my douche shovel for when nature calls and I need to dig a hole real quick. So I keep that on top. Sometimes I'll keep it on this front pocket. It kind of just depends on how everything gets together. This is a sleeping bag liner that I use sometimes. I didn't use it at all this trip. Kind of thinking about not using it anymore. It's just added space. It's not too heavy. It's probably good for when it's a little warmer out and I just need this and maybe throw the quilt on a little bit later, or if I'm just really sweaty and stinky to keep a little dirt off my down quilt. So probably won't bring that on my next trip and see how that goes. I've got my Hammock Mantis all-in-one hammock here. I need to put the stakes back, but it's awesome because you got a spot for the stakes. If you open it up, you just can shove the tree straps in here. It's got the hammock, and it's got enough space to put the tarp in there too. So that's awesome, super light, works pretty well. Got my cook kit here with a plastic fork. I've got just a jet boil burner in here with a a little portable burner that I use. I don't use the Jetboil, but I can open it up real quick. Just one of these cheapy stove burners is what I've got. It's hasn't failed me at all. I like it. I think I got it on Amazon for super cheap, maybe like 15-20 bucks. And then a can of fuel. And then one of the things that I've come to realize over the past couple of times that I've been traveling and doing these hikes is I've got this small little plastic kind of fork, spoon, utensil that I use, but I think I'm going to try to go with a longer spoon, sport kind of thing, because when I usually pour hot water into my food bags that the food is kept in and sold in, and this just gets dirty, my fingers get dirty, and trying to avoid contamination as much as possible. I do clean my hands with hand sanitizer, but anything I can do to avoid getting my dirty hands in my food is awesome. One thing I also have too is a little cozy that I built for this smaller pot. It's just some of that reflective stuff you use for windshield sun protectors. If I'm making hot coffee, this is what I'll keep it in. I've noticed if I don't use this little cozy, and then the coffee gets cold really quick with this. It's probably, I don't know, titanium or aluminum or something, really cheap metal kind of thing, but it's super light. And so I also will use the bag that the food or my cook set comes in as a rock bag to throw my food line up over a tree branch to store my food up high so that the critters don't get into it. Works pretty well. I haven't had any issues with it tearing or breaking. Kind of got a plan ahead for that. Sometimes I'll throw it up there and I'll get caught on snagged on several branches and got to kind of really tug at it to get it to come down correctly. So keep going in the bag. Here is my pillow. Love my pillow. It is, I'll have a list of all the equipment I have for a better title and where I got it. But this one is just a cocoon pillow, travel pillow. Got to figure out where the bag is. I think it's in my hammock, but couldn't find it the other day. And then here is my bag of clothes, my camp clothes, and just extra clothes that I pack. So show you what I've got in here. Didn't really pack it too well because I just got back and did laundry. Just camp shorts that I've got. And then I've got a winter hat when it was down to mid to high 30s when I was camping at night. So I like to have a winter hat that's pretty big so that I can put it on and then I'll roll down the front, over my eyes or face to kind of help protect me from the cold a little bit. So therefore, keep my quilt up to my chin, hat down up to my nose, and then it's just my mouth and nose that are showing. That it keeps me pretty warm that way. I always pack a long sleeve white shirt. It's cotton, but I'm only wearing it around camp. I like white because it technically keeps the bugs away. They're attracted to darker colors. So I've got a handful of white long sleeve shirts that I'll pack and bring with me. Usually just one per trip, but that way keeps the mosquitoes and the bugs away a little bit more. I've got a pair of Darn Tough socks, extra pair that I'll switch out every other day. I've got some sock liners, still debating on if I like those or not. And then I always carry around, especially when I'm on the trail north of Houston, or if I know there's going to be mud, some waterproof socks. So there's nothing worse than having to go miles through ankle deep water and always having soggy feet and shoes and socks. So those socks are pretty amazing to use. Keeps your feet dry, avoids blisters by your socks and shoes getting super wet. Next, I've got my food bag. You can see in the link below to description of what I got packed in here. I already created a video on that, so you can take a look and see what I brought along. And then got my electronics bag here, which is just my headlamp. It's a Night Core headlamp. I have a description below on the brand or the version it is. Looks like it's a NU32. Really like this thing. It's got the red lights and it's got multiple bright white lights to use around camp. And then I've got just an iPhone cord. the standard hookup. I always call this the Android cord. I think it's like a USB-C cord, but that way I can charge my headlamp and anything else that I might need this for, maybe GoPro, that kind of thing if I bring it. And I've got a large charger here. This is a 24,000 milliamp battery pack, so I only used it one night, and it's still at 79% with one charge on my phone when it was down in 35-degree temperatures, that I just left it hang in my little stuff sack that hangs above me when I'm in my hammock. So that's what I got there. And then finally, this was a pretty big fail for the cold. It is just basically my homemade Costco, what was supposed to be a 30-degree quilt. It's super tiny. I'm not a large gentleman. I'm about 5'9", 5'10", and it really does not move that much for me when you're trying to lay diagonal. It kept me sort of warm, basically from below my butt to about mid-shoulders, but that's about all it covered. So if I started moving a little bit, it started coming, not covering me as much. I think the shot cords were maybe too short. Saw a video on YouTube, wanted to try it out. You know, this was probably $40, maybe $50 total in supplies that I made it with some snaps, shot cord, carabiners, some cord locks, that kind of thing, some S-beaners. But it's always fun to try something out before, you know, spending the several $100s on an underquilt. But that was pretty much the first thing I purchased when I got back, was an underquilt to go with my regular quilt. Alright, so this is my top quilt. It's a 30-degree hammock gear top quilt. Love hammock gear. Their stuff's pretty affordable. They always have sales going on. Their customer service is great. I ordered a bunch of just accessories to make my quilt and for my tarp. And a code came out for the accessories for a discount, you know, like a week later, and they were able to apply that to my order. So really love those guys, love to keep giving them business there. But this is the 30-degree top quilt that I use. And then finally in here, I've just got my first aid kit, my toiletries, that kind of thing. I'll pack down here. My first aid kit is a little too full, I'm sure, because I didn't use it at all, but I've just got some Band-Aids, some moleskin, a thing for a needle if I need to pop any blisters, some triple antibiotic ointment, that kind of stuff. And then I've got my toiletries, which is just toothbrush, toothpaste. I threw some extra Smart water bottle lid caps in there. And then I've got my bug spray, another lighter, some camp soap if I need to wash anything, which is biodegradable, and then some more hand sanitizer. And then finally, that I store in the back, is my little cozy. So as I said before, I like to pour water into the food bag that I have, and then I'll place that in here, close that up, and then I'll close this up, and it kind of contains the heat and radiates the heat, kind of shake it up a little bit to stir it, and it's a great way to cook it. No need to do dishes afterwards, you just throw away the bag. So that's pretty much it for what I packed for my through hike of the Lone Star Hiking Trail. Again, unfortunately, I had to jump off because my Sawyer squeeze failed me. I've also got my down puffy jacket here that I just got off of Amazon. It's pretty cheap. I wore it pretty much all morning long, but then I would either strap it over top with my Chair Zero as I had before, or I would jam it into the bag, and it stuffs down real good. So here's the new tripod and cell phone holder that I'm planning on using going forward. It's the UltraPod Mini. It's got a multi-directional hookup to the top, a little tripod, and then some Velcro so that it can you can attach it to trees or your trekking pole. Here's the expander kind of cell phone. It has a screw at the bottom on the side, and then you can expand it to spring loaded for your phone. So that's what I'm going to use going forward, rather than the other two kind of put together from a cell phone and a GoPro. This will be better, I think. Let me know if you got any questions, if there's anything that you would change on this. I'm really trying to look to eliminate some weight. I kind of use everything except for maybe the sleeping bag liner, and then maybe some toiletries. Otherwise, it's hard to tell what I should cut out to bring the weight down. I could probably drop my chair and just bring maybe a sit pad, but that's always uncomfortable to try to sit like that when I'm really tired and sore. But appreciate you joining me. If you enjoy this video, please like it. If you like watching these videos, subscribe. Check out my video for my through hike, which was really just 2 nights, 1 day on the trail. But appreciate it. And Chowder and I will see you on the next great adventure. Thanks.